There's also a lot of things people say about the Polaris Extra Lite Triple engine, 600 monoblock or 580 both. Basically, started out in 93. There was a limited build of about 500 XLTs in 92 that were a 580. A full production came out in 93. They were a 580. In 94 and 94, 93, 94 basically had no problems. There weren't really any crank problems. Wasn't heard of. They ran good. They were nice, reliable, and pretty fast. And then 95, they switched. They bored the motor out to 597cc instead of 579, which they'd been previously. And they started having problems. Basically, late build 95 XLTs and 95 XCR 600s had the problems. Basically, my XLT is an early 95. The guy that originally bought it snow checked it in 94, so it's got some older type stuff, I guess. I don't know. It's got a 94 seat, but it's the original seat. I know that. Most 95s, the seat says XLT and has cross flags on it. Mine doesn't. My seat on mine looks like the one on a 94. So it's an early one. But the late 95 XCR 600s, basically they were ones that had been running pipes. 96 XCR 600, the 96 was the worst year for all of it. 96 XCR 600 with the high port XLT motor with the 38 millimeter carbs. They had the crankshaft problems starting, and they'd blow the crank about 1,500 miles in. If they went more than that, your engine was basically good. It was kind of hit and miss. And the 95 XCRs, 96 XCR also had another problem where the piston skirts would break off, which the 95, which the XLTs didn't seem to have, only the XCRs did that year. But basically the fix to that was to drill out the PTO oiling hole, which was smaller than the rest of them for whatever reason. And yeah, same with 96, they pretty much, most 96s had crank failures. Early 97s had the same problem until late mid 97 when they came out with the 04 block, which is the fourth generation, if you will, of the XLT motor, which had better crank, 4-line oil pump with a direct line going to the PTO bearing and a bigger PTO bearing, and that basically solved the problems. After that, they're basically all reliable. They are good after that. Everybody seems to say that all of them are junk. They all blow up all the time. The cranks are all junk. But the 93, 94s were good. Early 95s are good. Mid 95, late 95, up to mid 97 were junk, basically. Once you got them fixed right, they held up good, though. And yeah, basically a lot of the problems with pipes because they weren't designed to be a high horse engine. I mean, it was a trail sled motor, piston port, 600, small engine, you know. And yeah, they weren't built for the high stress of running like that high, you know. They had a bad harmonic spot in them at around 8,800 RPMs, I believe. And yeah, so basically, the ones with the 38 mil carbs seem to have more problems than the ones with the 34s. And, yeah. Not all XLTs are junk. Basically, late 95 to mid 97 were the worst ones. After that, basically, they were good. And really, they're not the fastest out there, and they're not the slowest. I mean, they got good power, good mid-range power. They're a good trail sled. They're reliable when you keep them stock. I mean, the more modifying you do to them, the less reliable they're going to get because it weakens just the engine in general. But they really are a good sled. They're not as nearly as heavy as everybody says. The XCR 600 SPs and such starting in 96 with the Case Reed triple and the aggressive chassis are a lot heavier than any XLT ever was. So, besides maybe an XLT in the aggressive chassis, but they still only had single pipe, so who knows. But anyways, really, not all XLTs are junk. Some of them a couple years are, but they get a really bad rap for just a few years of little issue. I mean, crankshaft isn't a little issue, but once they get it all good, they were great, and they run good. They still do to this day. I still see a couple of them around here. Mine will probably hit 10,000 miles before I ended up getting rid of it. I'm gonna put some work into it this spring, but yeah, XLT they're not nearly as bad as everybody says they are.